Sometimes franchises go on just a little too long and the magic is lost a bit. People lose interest, but, you know, while they're away, sometimes...
Okay, just before I start, sorry if you hear, like, sniffing. I'm not feeling well at the moment. Really not feeling well, but I mean, I'm still gonna do it, so hopefully you guys don't mind. But we're just gonna jump into this.
Games, for lack of a better term, let's just say learn and grow. Is the effort enough? Let's find out. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 games that want you back. Starting off with number 10, wow, Assassin's Creed has been to the gym. Check out Mirage. The Assassin...
It actually looks kind of fucking good. There's a bit of issues I have with the game personally, but overall, I think it could be a very decent Assassin's Creed game to end off the like single player franchise, because as far as I know, after Mirage they are going to do a live action service Assassin's Creed game, so hopefully Mirage is going to like show them that the single player aspect is still very much wanted, and you know, do not go live service, because then Assassin's Creed is really going to die.
Assassin's Creed series been around a long time. I mean, the first game came out like all the way back in 2007. So
damn, that far back? Really? Oh, now I feel old.
It's a lot of sequels. It was inevitable that players would start to find the formula stale after a while, and they did.
It's because they don't want to innovate. Like Unity, Syndicate, relatively good, but overall it was very bland. Then, well, okay. Like Assassin's Creed 1 to about Revelations was all about the same. Then Assassin's Creed 3 came out, they changed the formula, Assassin's Creed Black Flag improved it in many different ways, added Navy combat, and then it just went back to being stale. Then Origins came out, and then they changed the formula completely again. Brilliant! Assassin's Creed Origins is my favorite like Assassin's Creed game, and then it's Black Flag. I know that for people it's the other way around. Black Flag is most people's favorite, but for me it was for most of my life, yes, Black Flag was the better Assassin's Creed game. Then Origins came out, and then I was like, yeah man, I love that. That is what I want. And then Odyssey came out, very buggy, very messy for me. Like it just felt a bit like sluggish, so to say. Valhalla came out as great of a game in terms of like content and stuff to do. In terms of stuff to do, the game had lots of problems. I will give you that. So hopefully Assassin's Creed Mirage just brings it back a bit, you know? Just brings back the spark.
So Ubisoft pivoted pretty hard into a more Witcher 3 open world RPG direction with Assassin's Creed Origins in 2017, and basically has been doing that ever since. With each new entry, it seems like the series gets further and further away from its original vision. Like, look at Valhalla. Now, I'll say this, Valhalla is a good game. It has its problems, but that's not what I'm talking about here. There's barely any stealth in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Assassin's Creed, the creed of the assassin. You could sneak in Valhalla, but it's so...
See, I sure, I do agree that the sneaking and the strategy kind of flew out the window, but I want sneaking to be optional. Like, have good sneaking, but make it optional, because if you have like a sneaking mission and it's not optional, I just don't think it's gonna, like, I know people will enjoy it, but for lots of people, including myself, like, if it's forced on you, I'm gonna lose interest in it, man. Like, have a good sneaking system to make it enjoyable and want to do, but make it optional. That's all I'm saying. Just make it optional.
Slow and ineffective, and most of the time, just faster and easier to run up and slaughter your enemies. I mean, that's still assassinating someone, but I'm gonna divert to Toy Story here for a second. When Woody tells Buzz that's not flying, it's falling with style, eventually that becomes a positive thing. Yeah, let's fall with style. Cool. With Assassin's Creed, it's no longer falling with style, it's just falling. Falling in any way you possibly can without the necessity for style. skill. Now that doesn't mean, again, I don't think that the big open world Assassin's Creed games are bad games. I actually like them. But, I mean, there's a reason I like Assassin's Creed so much, and it's all the games where it was Assassin's Creed and not AC/Witcher or whatever. And I'm not the only person who thinks this. There's people with much more extreme versions of that opinion. People really wanting just an original Assassin's Creed game with more stealth gameplay, less bloated open world, and no RPG skill trees, and Ubisoft heard the fan base. Mirage looks very much like an Assassin's Creed game. You're in a single city, you're playing as a full-blown assassin again, and it's so Assassin's Creed, some people thought it was a remake, but it's a full-blown sequel. Now, Basim, the guy from Valhalla you're playing as, isn't particularly popular with the fans, and you still have some magic assassin powers like teleportation, so people who wanted to be a little more grounded, that's not what you're getting here. But I never really considered it a particularly grounded series personally, and it really looks like it brings back the things people liked about the original.
The moment I first played the first one, and there was like Desmond Miles' DNA is like connected to these ancient artifacts that could destroy the world, or if it falls into the wrong hands, it can monopolize everything and everything. And then Desmond Miles' ancestors is every single one of them came in contact with the pieces of Eden. So it wasn't very grounded to start off with. I don't know why why people are like, oh, but I want it to be more realistic. Sure, have your own realistic Assassin's Creed game, but make it your fucking self.
Original games and a slick modern package. And number 9 is Cyberpunk 2077's Phantom Liberty. I don't need to recount for you, again, just how rough Cyberpunk was when it came out back in 2020.
Yeah,
this stuff dominated the news, and I'm not talking the gaming news, I'm talking the news.
From what I've heard.
A lot of things everywhere about how bad a state that game was in when it came out. Now, opinions have turned around over the last 3 years, probably because they've done a whole lot of work on the game. And that work's actually paid off. Like, look at the Steam page. It says very positive. Cyberpunk 2077 has a very positive Steam overall review score. That's really astounding for where we were a couple of years ago. Phantom Liberty appears to be the biggest and most ambitious attempt at winning players back, though. This game doesn't just add some extra side content. It's going to significantly alter a lot of aspects of the gameplay, and it sounds, from everything I've seen, like a literal game changer. Almost everything sounds great. Like they're completely reworking the skill tree, they're changing inventory management, reworking the HUD, adding new weapons, clothes. It's just for starting. Clothes no longer affect your armor stats unless they're actually armor. So it looks like your clothing can be purely aesthetic now for the most part, which is nice because when I change a t-shirt, I don't assume that it's going to change anything about the heavy armor I'm wearing under it or over it. How cyberware works, totally overhauled as well. All the abilities are connected with what cyberware you've got. Instead of letting you only equip one piece of chrome per part, now you can load up as much as you want. The only downside is that if you install too much, it can have a negative effect on your skills, so there's a risk-reward system. I like that. Probably my favorite part though. Remember the original game's police and how anemic and lame they were? Oh, that's getting an overhaul here. There's a 5-star police system. Remember we were kind of thinking this is going to be a first-person Cyberpunk Grand Theft Auto? Ooh, there's a little bit more of that now. Cops are going to chase you on foot. They're going to chase you in vehicles. There's going to be actual vehicle combat.
I really hope that the 5-star makes it like it turns it back to like the old police where they just start spawning in from everywhere and then they just fucking gun you down. Or they should make that a secret 6-star police. You know, if you really, really keep pushing your luck, it just goes to 6-star and then they just start spawning in everywhere. Like, that would be fucking hilarious.
Shoot while driving. You can even use melee weapons while on a motorcycle. These are kind of the bigger changes, but there's a lot of other stuff. Like, almost everything about the open world and gameplay is getting tweaked somehow with the expansion. And apparently a lot of these changes will be coming to the base game, but it's not 100% clear how much of it's coming in a free update and what requires the expansion to be there. But these are significant, major improvements to the game. Stuff you'd expect from a sequel, not an expansion, and I'm all about it. This is the way to go. And number 8, Black Flag fans with Skull and Bones. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was pretty awesome. It's almost the pirate simulator everyone wanted. The only problem was all that pesky assassin stuff. I know, yeah, this is a direct contradiction to everything I said about Mirage, but come on. Pirates don't do tailing missions. After Black Flag, all anybody wanted was a new pirate game without all the Assassin's Creed baggage. Seemed like a no-brainer, but then the monkey's paw curled at the Ubisoft offices. Listen, this is the list of games that want you back, not necessarily games you actually want. Skull and Bones is clearly not what the fans wanted after Black Flag. Everybody, myself included, loved the ship-to-ship combat. So what does Ubisoft do? Make an entire game that's just the ship combat. For some reason, they cut all the on-foot stuff, even though a huge part of the pirate fantasy is exploring deserted islands, seeking naval forts, storming in.
I could never 100% finish this game, mainly because I could never do the online stuff. I can do it now if I get the game again, but we were never in the position to play for like Xbox Gold back then, so we weren't. I wasn't allowed to like play online, so I was never able to do like the online stuff. But the single player shit, the offline stuff, I 100% did everything I could do. I even challenged my fucking self to do with just a base upgrades, defeat those 4 ships in the corners of the map with the like base level ship that you can get your hands on. And I was like, fuck me, that was a challenge, because there was also, I think it was the bottom left corner, or it was either the bottom left or the top right corner. There was 2 ships spawned in at one time, and I was like, oh god, I am dead. Oh god, I am fucking dead. And now by base ship, I mean have like 1 level in everything, like your armor, your cannons, your mortar, so on and so on. So yes, it did require you to be halfway through the game, but I didn't fully max out everything. I literally had 1 level in everything. Because I wanted the mortar, I wanted the ram, but I didn't upgrade it fully. So yes, what a fucking challenge. It took me a week to try and beat it. Well, to beat it, I did beat it, but like it was just, you just had to get so lucky, and it took so long to just kill 1. I think it took me an average of about 30 minutes of navy fucking combat to just beat 1 of the ships. And then the one where they spawned in 2 ships was even harder, man. Like, damn. It was hard.
You can't do any of that in Skull and Bones, but hey, you can cut down trees from your boat, so that's just as good, right? Listen, I don't want to beat on Skull and Bones here. It seems like a disaster in the making that's been in development a shockingly long time. And to be frank, there's times where I think, oh, I'd actually really like that. It may not be a total failure. I don't know. I haven't played it. And I will play it. I want it to be good. Like, there's, of course, a time back in the day where I'm like, yeah, Skull and Bones, more Black Flag stuff. Yeah, all right. But it's so boring. Past that time.
It's so boring.
This game exists because of positive fan response to Black Flag. And regardless of if it actually succeeds in what it sets out to do, Ubisoft wants to get those fans back on the pirate ship with Skull and Bones. And number 7 is Stalker fans with Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, the Ukrainian version of Chernobyl. The original Stalker was a cult classic for a real good reason. It's unquestionably janky, but also very, very, very compelling. Set in an even more inhospitable version of the Chernobyl exclusion zone filled with mutants and environmental anomalies, that original game was haunting and unforgiving. It was really a different experience. The sequel was announced only a year after the original game, but canceled in 2012. So even from the start, the devs knew there was a demand for the sequel that could sand down some of the rough edges, but it's taken a little longer to get there. Back when the first came out, the open world shooter was a pretty novel concept. But even in a saturated market, Stalker 2 does stand out with the visuals and atmosphere. It does look very much like a Stalker sequel, and from the few trailers we've gotten, it contains a lot of iconic areas from the exclusion zone seen in previous Stalker games, but with some subtle and some not so subtle changes. What's really surprising about this game is it really feels like a continuation of Stalker. Not some radical reinvention of the series, but Stalker with better graphics. Right now there's not a lot to talk about from this one, because the actual gameplay is still kind of shrouded in mystery. What's actually actually changed about this game, I don't really know, but the trailers clearly want to remind fans that all their favorite things from the original are still there. It's been over 10 years at this point, and you can't go wrong pushing all those nostalgia buttons. And number 6 is Test Drive with Unlimited Solar Crown. When people talk about the best open world driving games, one of the most frequently mentioned is the Test Drive Unlimited from 2006. One of the earliest Forza Horizon competitors, was also one of the best, had a massive open world set on Oahu, huge card selection, and a whole lot of features that helped sell the fantasy of living the fancy car lifestyle that many open world racers would generously borrow from. That first Unlimited was fantastic, and even though the sequel from 2011 wasn't so hot, there's a lot of nostalgia for the original. For years now, Forza Horizon has dominated the open world driving market, and even if you like those games, a little friendly competition never hurt anybody, so hopefully Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown can be a return to form for both a venerable franchise, but also a kick in the butt for the Forza games. At least that's what the publisher Nacon and developer KT Racing want the game to be. Right now it's hard to say if it's going to succeed, but they're definitely banking on the Unlimited name to draw in some longtime fans. And number 5 is old school From players with Armored Core 6. If there's one thing certain fans have complained about post Demon Souls is that From doesn't experiment anymore. Before that game, developers were always trying new things. They had one of the most eclectic catalogs of gaming. They weren't always great. In fact, a lot of those games were actually pretty bad. But there was some really cool stuff in the pre-Souls period. Of course, there's King's Field. The franchise they're most known for before Dark Souls was actually Armored Core. These were hardcore mech action games that were often relentlessly difficult, but like super cool.
But I saw it.
The presentation wasn't
like,
the most.
A couple years back, and I was like, damn, this looks fucking good. And then I found out it came out quite a while ago, and I was like, man, I'm never getting my hands on this.
Impressive for the time. But the customization...
I can probably get my hands on it now, because I got a PC now, but back then I was more, in my younger days, I was on Xbox, and then I moved over to a PlayStation, and then, like, finding games was the issue, because we don't have, like, GameStop and, like, you know, all of the things from like America where you can get games everywhere. We had like South Africa has a very small like places like to get physical copies of games, especially back then before the like digital era came through, to get like actually like buy games and download it on the thing. So yeah, I can probably get it now and play it, but I mean it's been so fucking long since the game's come out, I doubt anybody's gonna watch it.
Options are some of the best. You can really go nuts designing your perfect mech with a variety of weapons, chassis, and legs that drastically alter how a mission's going to play out. For a long time, it just kind of seemed like From was just done with Armored Core. But after the universal success of Elden Ring, they must feel like they can do just whatever they want, so they're bringing Armored Core back. And shockingly, it looks like a true successor. A lot of assumed to be like a Souls-like, but just with giant robots. From the trailers, it's Armored Core. Like, there's mission-based gameplay, and there's a focus on mech building. I like it. It's unlikely that the game's ever going to have the kind of sales that Elden Ring did, but for fans, feels like a minor miracle the game's coming out at all. For a company that's been refining the same formula for about a decade now, it's pretty exciting to see them reach back into the back catalog and try something different. And number 4 is Prince of Persia fans with The Lost Crown. The Sands of Time trilogy is still a favorite among fans. Those games, especially the first one, are really considered classics for a very good reason. Ubisoft has almost entirely abandoned the franchise, and few expected a whole lot after the Sands of Time remake. Ubisoft has almost entirely abandoned the franchise.
No,
Few expected a whole lot after the Sands of Time remake was shelved and then rebooted. But during Summer Games Fest, they revealed an honest-to-God new entry in the franchise, The Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. It's not what a lot of fans expected at all. A side-scrolling Metroidvania isn't the first thing I think of when I think of this series. It's easy to write it off as a quick little indie game they're just throwing out there, but from all the pre-release information I've seen, it's a much bigger game than you might initially think. Really, the Prince of Persia name is to get people in the door, because I don't see a lot that ties this to the original series. It's kind of a fresh start in a lot of ways. There's some crossover elements like gigantic monsters. There is a focus on platforming and side-scrolling, which is a throwback.
My favorite Prince of Persia game is the second one, because I don't know what it was, but my child brain, when I saw him put on the mask, was fucking, oh, this is the best shit ever, let's fucking go! And then I played number 3, and then I quite liked the aesthetic from the like arm chain thing that you got, and then it like completely took over your body, and then you were like playing like that, and I was like, man, this is great. This is excellent. And then I eventually played one, and I was like, man, this shit's boring as hell. But I still finished it, and I still quite enjoyed it. So, all in all, very good.
Like the original Prince of Persia game, but taken all together, it feels like a pretty big departure. It's not to say it looks bad though, and at a $50 price point, it hopefully means we're getting a full experience, not some little 4-hour side project to satiate the fans while they're working on that remake that they've rebooted. But there really isn't enough out there to say for sure. Personally, I'm really looking forward to it though. It's different, but at least
for this, it really better be at least 20 hours long, with lots of shit to do. Probably scratched at 30 hours long, and better be lots of stuff to do for a game like this for $50.
For me, it's kind of just the name. I need Prince of Persia to be hopeful because it does look like a good game. At number 3, Alan Wake 2. Hey, Remedy fans, things are looking a little bleak out there for all you Alan Wake likers. After the original failed to be a big hit like Microsoft wanted, it seemed like a resolution to the massive cliffhanger was never going to happen. There was Alan Wake's American Nightmare, a little standalone, but nothing really materialized after that. And it wasn't until Remedy started sneaking in little references to the series in Control did people start hope again for a real sequel. And then there was the Alan Wake DLC, and we were kind of like, oh, so this is a shared universe and it's definitely going to be a sequel. Because all that stuff in the Federal Bureau of Control, woohoo! God, the whole thing was great. And it's finally happening. An actual continuation of the story. Fairly different looking from the original though. First Alan Wake was more of an action game. The sequel looks like it borrows heavily from the recent Resident Evil games, and I'm okay with that. And it seems like everybody else is too. It's seen almost universally as a positive. It's probably closer to what everybody wanted for the series, even going back to the original, because it all feels very authentic. Now, I do think there's an element of Control's influence on what Alan Wake was in the first place, and making their DLC into kind of a more survival horror experience, and everybody basically universally liking that. But it's got all those little Remedy touches you want, like how one of the new characters is just the game's writer and the original face of Max Payne, Sam Lake. Another intriguing aspect, there's 2 separate campaigns, one where you play as Alan Wake, and another completely new character, Saga Anderson. The name alone, intriguing enough for fans of the first game. Is she related to the Anderson brothers? Is there something else going on? She's an FBI agent. Does she know of the Federal Bureau of Control? Does the Federal Bureau of Control play in? Is she about to be taken for a serious ride? Honestly, I don't know any of it, but it's a super big relief to see the series finally come back. It's like Twin Peaks: The Return, and it's probably just going to leave us with more questions than answers, just like Twin Peaks: The Return, but there's going to be more Control, and presumably there's going to be more Alan Wake as well, so it's exciting. At number 2 is the Silent Hill series with the Silent Hill 2 remake and the Game Blitz. Konami's slow slide into irrelevance is mostly its own making. They pushed away popular creators, farmed out their most popular series to the lowest builder in order to crank out mediocre sequels, and eventually almost entirely got out of game development to focus on managing gambling parlors and health spas. Now, for a variety of reasons, they're getting back into gaming, and their biggest push yet is the Silent Hill franchise. Been over a decade since a Silent Hill game has come out, if you don't count PT, nearly 20 since the series was at its peak, but there's still a lot of fans out there who want more. That's the enduring power of these games. Even after all this time, it's still got it.
People want more. I don't want more. We had the first, I think there was 3 games on the PS2. Either 3 or 2. And we had all of them. That's why I think there was 3. And played the first one. Furthest I got was halfway. I was like, nope, I'm done with this game. I went to go play God of War. Finished God of War. Came back to Silent Hill. I played Silent Hill 2. Like, I skipped 1, went straight to 2. Like played 10 minutes of that. I think 2 was the one with the circus thing, and then the dog like you go into the one building and then this mutated dog thing comes running out from the side, and I shat myself and I said, nope, I'm done, I'm not playing that. And then I went to go play God of War 2, finished God of War 2, came back to play a Silent Hill. That's why I think there was 3, because I think I played Silent Hill 3. Stopped. Let me quickly Google But I played a Silent Hill after God of War 2, stopped, and then I was like, yep, no, I'm done with horror games, man. Like, it's just not for me. I don't do well with horror games. Silent Hill 3. Oh yeah, that was. Yeah, okay, so we had the first 3 games on the PS2. So yeah, no, I just did not enjoy it at all.
Huge community around it who want and demand more. And in 2022, Konami finally listened and revealed a whole bunch of new games. The biggest name on here is the Silent Hill 2 remake, but there's also Townfall, Ascension, and the mysterious Silent Hill F, which is a lot of new Silent Hill. Obviously, Konami wants its
I'm
back.
not gonna play
like,
either one of them.
in all seriousness, help spas are probably a predictable business, but I guess they remembered how fun it was to make hundreds of millions of dollars off of a creative project. Or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe somebody just tricked them into it, which good on them if that's the case. There are reasons to be skeptical though. Bloober Team, who has done some good stuff in the past, like Observer, The Medium, wasn't great. The Layers of Fear remake, total dud though. So I don't know. Bloober has never made a game with actual mechanics like combat in it. So I mean, it could be good. It could be a disaster. We don't know. Still, the choice to remake Silent Hill 2 over the more obvious choice of Silent Hill 1 tells us Konami wants those fans back, and it's probably smart that they know the sequel is more culturally important, which indicates maybe some correct priorities. We'll see. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll have cucumbers on our eyes and a face mask applied for a nice cleansing of our facial pores. I don't know. I'm making fun of their health spas. And finally, at number 1, another shot at the most rebooted series of all time, Alone in the Dark. They just keep trying with these things, don't they? Widely considered the first survival horror game, the original Alone in the Dark in 1992 was groundbreaking at the time, but it does not hold up nearly as well as the original Resident Evil, tank controls and all. As the first in the lucrative genre, it's one of those games nobody wants to give up, so they keep rebooting it. First in 2001 with The New Nightmare, which was blatantly a Resident Evil knockoff, and then there was the insanely ambitious but mostly very bad Alone in the Dark game from 2008. Was totally insane. Tried to do some new things, but failed at all of them. Somebody else tried to bring the series back again in 2015 with Illumination, which was somehow even worse than 2008. And finally, in 2023, we're getting Alone in the Dark, no subtitle. After the beating this franchise has taken through the years, I'm not sure how many unironic fans are even left, but I'll say this game actually does look interesting. It's a reimagining of the first game with an over-the-shoulder third-person camera reminiscent of the Resident Evil remakes. It's got some pretty big names attached to it, like the writer of Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Soma, which is a big get in my book. Soma's fantastic, and a big reason why is because of the writing. They've also got some Hollywood talent. There's David Harbour, Sheriff Hooper himself as Edward Carnby, the main character. Jodie Corner from Killing Eve as Emily Hartwood, the other playable character from the original game. She hasn't shown up in the series anywhere until this game, so it's interesting, if nothing else. The developer Pisces Interactive doesn't really have much of a track record to speak of, but the trailer looks pretty good, so hopefully this will be the game that breaks the Alone in the Dark curse and it's actually decent, because it's a pretty cool IP. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on Game Ranks.
Okay, well then, actually really good. Lots of things, lots of games I know, lots of games I didn't know. You know, all in all, very good. Honestly, let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited for the Silent Hill remake? Are you guys gonna play it? For one, I'm not gonna play it because I don't like horror games. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time.